guys? It's Monday.
Yeah, I'm looking at Richard Harris. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy.
Well, he's like...
Man called horse.
We watched the... Oh, yeah, that's right.
Man called
we
horse.
watched this movie 2 nights ago, right? We didn't watch it last night. We watched the previous night. Before Zardoz.
Yeah.
And so Tom, by this point, had forgotten... what Richard Harris looks like.
Yeah,
and
I could imagine the role and everything, but I couldn't put a face to it.
Is it because you're picturing Quint from Jaws?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of had the same thing happen too.
I was picturing Quint from Jaws, and I was picturing fucking, what's his name from The Hand? Michael Caine at the same time. So I was kind of like shifting between Michael Caine and Quint from Harris. I was going, no, that's not who it is. But then I saw him go, oh, yeah, him. Yeah. Richard Harris.
Interesting you should bring up Michael Caine because this movie, well, actually Jaws 4, The Revenge, which had Michael Caine in it, is kind of a ripoff of this movie. Like, the plot of it is the same.
And then I was talking about watching Amityville Horror 2 last night and went and saw fucking Richard Burton, his face.
Exorcist 2.
On Exorcist 2, excuse me. What did I say?
Amityville Horror 2.
No, Exorcist, yeah. Exorcist 2, and saw Richard Burton's fucking face. We're just inundated by fucking British drunks. Just fucking so many drunk British motherfuckers, all in the fucking 1970s movies, and they were all scary, man. All those dudes are fucking frightening, terrifying drunks. We were under attack. It's a British new wave for terrorizing drunks in the now.
That just gave me a really funny...
Oliver fucking Reed and everything.
That just gave me a really...
scary drunk motherfuckers.
A really funny visual of kind of like the D-Day landing, except it's all like these drunk British dudes like staggering out of the ocean.
Yeah, they come up in a damn... They come up in a damn landing craft.
Where's
and
that horror
open
movie?
them up on the beaches and fucking let all these fucking drunk British actors out.
And occasionally they fall down or throw up on themselves or something, but they just keep coming.
Legendary British drunk actors.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, see, I told you to remind me, so I'll probably like just say this right at the jump. If you look at the Wikipedia page for Orca, it has a delightful-ish story about Richard Harris, who, again, not surprisingly, was allegedly showing up drunk on the set all the time. And he was, I guess, in his trailer and was reading a tabloid, and there were pictures in the tabloid of his wife cavorting on a beach with a much younger man.
Oh.
And he got so angry that he was going to quit the movie and fly to Malibu to kill them.
Kill that bitch. I think Harris,
and they were like, no, just calm down, dude.
I think Harris might have been Irish too, huh? I'm not sure he was British. I think he might have been Irish.
I think he's Irish,
Yeah, I think he lived in England. Probably passed.
Well, I mean, his accent is Irish in this, for sure. Yeah. Right. And like his son, Jared Harris, who I didn't even realize was his son until today, actually, is also like a very famous Irish. You would probably even know him if you saw him. He's been in like a fuck ton of stuff.
Me and Jay were talking about these drunk motherfuckers, and they were known as drunks even in England. So you have to fucking be outstandingly drunk to get a reputation for being a drunk up in that bitch right there.
That's kind of what I figured,
Because they drink, man.
It's like, hey, we're all minor league drunks here, but holy shit, you guys are taking it to a whole other level.
Yeah, and I think Ireland might be the king of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, not so much nowadays, but maybe back in the day. Maybe back in the day.
I don't know, man. Fiona was fucking, she could drink me under the table.
Well, that's kind of what they're known for.
Yeah.
I mean, the Irish are kind of known for that.
And she could remain standing. And the only thing that would fucking let me know that she was drunk is she would stop talking. She'd continue drinking, though. She could walk, she would just stop talking.
Well, she's like, after a while, she's like, all the talking is getting in the way of the drinking.
Yeah. Her eyes would get heavy-lidded and she wouldn't talk anymore. And she'd just keep drinking. She was amazing.
Delicious booze.
Yeah. Yeah, she'd start off with fucking beer and then start moving on to fucking whiskey. She was a beast.
Nice.
She was a beast, yeah.
All right, so today, in case you didn't realize, we're talking about Orca. Or Orca the killer whale with a exclamation point, which I always thought was very funny.
I didn't realize it has an exclamation on this.
I didn't know that either, but then like I looked at all the posters. Some of the posters just say Orca, and then some of them say Orca the killer whale with an exclamation point.
Yeah.
You know, because it's exciting, bitch. So basically, I saw this as a kid, And there were a couple scenes in this that really stuck with me. I feel like this was another one of those movies that was just on cable all the fucking time. And it's just kind of like every time you were flipping through the channels, you'd always kind of see part of it, or you'd come in the middle and then like you'd watch it. I don't even know if I ever actually sat down and watched the whole thing straight through. I just kept seeing pieces of it over the years.
Look at how that backlight, that lighting did change the image quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got this new light, and it does make the image look a little crisper.
Yeah, I mean...
It looks good.
I thought it did.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's a ring light, but I don't have the setup, and I don't have enough room back there to, like, put it around the camera. Like, you could still see it. And it was too bright. Like, it doesn't get dim enough to be that close, like, because it's really, really bright. So I had to put it up there.
Yeah, Hernandez is in there saying, I had a girlfriend back in the day that could outdrink everyone. Tequila shot after tequila shot. The girl was lost. Yeah, my ex fucking Fiona back in Boston, straight from Cork, Ireland and shit. She was a beast. I had to quit her. That was part of the problem. She'd get mad. She was get mad eventually when she get drunk. Become kind of like a violent drunk. Man, I can't put up with this bullshit. Fucking went down to the bar one time, and I met her in that bar. It was near my house, and she disappeared one time. Went and found her, and she was fucking drunk on the ground, on the floor, underneath the damn table, in the middle of a crowd of people.
Wow.
Yeah, and I fucking grabbed her, fucking pulled her out of there. Wow, she wanted to fight, took her home. And that was it. I said, I ain't going out. That was it. I said, I ain't going out with this girl.
You gotta shovel her out on the table, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gadgy3. Been a while. Have a $5 by way of apology.
Oh, thank you.
Love y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, how this movie came about. So, I saw this a bunch growing up. But then I didn't see it again for a really long time. And so, just in the past few weeks, when we've been talking about all these 70s disaster movies and nature run amok movies, and I was kind of like, man, I'd really like to see Orca again, because I remember a couple scenes from that really sticking with me. And I remember that one that was one that I remembered a lot from when I was a kid. So we wanted to like rewatch it. And I didn't realize how this came about, basically. This was produced by Dino de Laurentiis. Okay. It was actually directed by Michael Anderson, the same guy that directed Logan's Run.
Okay. Now, I'll tell you what, people. It does not feel like a Dino flick, and it has nothing to do with Logan's Run. It does not have that vibe. It's more old school, more traditional. Almost feels like a 60s movie. Go ahead.
And so basically, Dino de Laurentiis was just kind of like, well, Jaws made all the money.
Yeah.
So calls up other producers or screenwriters or whatever and is like, okay, well, what's scarier than or bigger and meaner than a great white shark that we can make, because he has to top it, obviously.
Right. Dino de Laurentiis.
Yes, Dino de Laurentiis.
Yeah, he's Italian. He's got we're going to make it better. They want more of that? We're going to give more of that. More.
More, bigger.
Yeah. Well, fucking Flash Gordon. Oh, what's better than that? Oh, fucking, no. What's better than Star Wars? Flash Gordon. Yeah, give him more. Yeah.
Danny Rolling Ghostface said this film was like Free Willy on steroids. Yeah, so I guess, in a way, I think Orca obviously gets shit on a lot as a Jaws ripoff or a Jaws cash-in, which it was, but I will say that they didn't cheap out on this movie. They did actually put some effort into it. It's got a lot of real actors in it. Ennio Morricone did the score, for Christ's sake. It's, and it's actually nicely shot, and they didn't really do the thing with, it's not really so much a movie about a sea creature that's like killing people for no reason like Jaws is. It's more like a revenge movie. I've seen it compared to like Jaws meets Death Wish. Yeah. Because basically this is one of the only killer animal movies I can think of where you're actually supposed to be kind of on the animal side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I did not remember that aspect of this story at all. And like I said, later Jaws 4 The Revenge kind of had the same storyline.
Yeah, I kind of felt it was supposed to be like Jaws, but they wanted the audience to have a lot more empathy for the orca than they did the shark.
Yeah.
And they tried to they basically did with this what you did with King Kong.
Yeah.
King Kong is the monster, but he's actually the good guy. The humans are the monsters. They brought that shit on themselves. they taking him out of his fucking island and bringing him to New York, and he's just trying to be a gorilla, you know. And they end up machine gunning his ass.
Gorilla, yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that. It's an orca just being an orca, and dude goes out and fucking kills this orca's whole family and his baby and shit. Well, shit. And he remembers, I'm gonna get you. You know, he can see up on the boat. He even sees the dude who did it. Killing somebody's wife and baby. That's the fucking premise for the Punisher.
That's what I'm saying. Or Death Wish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like any kind of revenge. So that's why this has been compared.
Yep.
In some ways, it's not so much a nature run amok movie.
More like
it's
man
more
run
like
amok.
it's more like a revenge flick.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like you're supposed to sympathize more with the orca, and I totally did.
Yeah.
Or at least they're trying to make it like even. You know what I mean?
Well, nah, they're trying to get you to sympathize with the orca, and the dude who did it, you know, fucking Richard Harris character, he was ignorant to how he kept calling them fish. He was kind of ignorant to what they were, but he had a girl who was a specialist on them right there, telling him, hey, you know, these things are monogamous. You go and kill some of them. You might be and capture one of them. You're breaking up a family. And, you know, he's just like, oh, well,
fuck it. I want
animals.
money.
Even though in the beginning they give you a whole class, they're showing the brain of the orca, and they go, you know, it's comparable to the human brain. You know, the size and the shape of it. More than a chimpanzee, you know. So they're letting you know right away that this is akin to doing it to a person. I kind of believe that. There's certain animals that you shouldn't be killing, especially not for food. No.
And honestly...
And I don't believe that some of the shit that they're happening in this damn experimental laboratories, what they're doing to monkeys and dogs and shit like that, nah, not cool at all. Not cool at all. Those animals are high enough to feel pain, and they have little personalities and stuff, you know what I mean? You're not really supposed to be fucking with them, you know. Fish and mice, that's not so bad, but, you know, fucking... that you're not supposed to be eating whales. Leave them fucking whales alone, you know, and elephants and shit. No.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious enough. Now, I will say this movie, yes, it came out in 1977. They did, maybe they oversell how much of a capacity for vengeance a killer whale would have. But in the movie's defense, I looked up the Wikipedia page because I was interested. I'm like, well, let's see how much of an over exaggeration that is. Not much. They don't really, obviously there's no research on if a killer whale could actually like recognize you and come and fuck you up and do some of the shit that the orca does in this. But orcas do have really complicated societies akin to higher primates and elephants. So not, it's over exaggerated, but not much.
The main obstacle an orca would have is that once you were on land, he couldn't get to you. So they could only get revenge on you if you were on the ocean.
See, and that's what kind of killed me about Jaws the Revenge, which, like I said, is essentially the same plot as this. It came out, I think, 10 years later. I think Jaws the Revenge came out in 87, if I'm remembering correctly. But that's the thing. It's like, well, if there's a shark that's after your family specifically, just don't go in the water. Yeah, sharks can't breathe air.
Right,
so you're fine. This one, like I said, this one's kind of more like I would argue that this is a better movie than Jaws for the Revenge. Because Jaws for the Revenge, like I said, there's a big plot thing. It's like, just don't go in the water. And don't move somewhere with your family to the coast. Why you move to the Midwest where there are no sharks? Duh. Problem solved.
It's actually a decent movie. It's a good movie for the time. It's shot pretty well, but like I said, it does have an older school feeling. It does not feel like a 70s movie to me. It feels more like a late 60s movie, the way that it's shot. I don't know if it's the film stock that they used or just kind of the dialogue and just this would be considered an old school kind of classical movie in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's not newfangled, you know what I'm talking about?
Them newfangled.
No, you can definitely tell this is kind of like pre-Steven Spielberg, pre-George Lucas. This is the old Hollywood, really.
Yeah.
The old Hollywood style.
Even though this was made in response to a Steven Spielberg movie, Jaws, but
not that style.
Like I said, it's not really. It does have some similarities with Jaws, but like I said, it does its own thing.
Yeah.
It's actually more of a tragedy than a killer animal movie.
We take Spielberg's direction style and editing for granted because it just feels very natural to our generation. Before that, stuff before that kind of had a very blocky, mechanical kind of a feel to it. Not very fun. Kind of paint by numbers, it felt like. But not bad, just not as emotional and free-flowing as Steven Spielberg. And they are going against Spielberg's grain, or they can't replicate it. Probably did the right thing not to replicate Spielberg's style, to go more traditional. Probably the better way to go. Safer.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to shit on movies for being Jaws ripoffs, even if you just want to do Italian ones, there are way worse ones out there. Yeah. Devilfish, for one, which is actually kind of a hybrid between a shark and an octopus, kind of. Yeah. Or a megalodon or something. Yeah, The Last Shark, which is essentially just Jaws, except much cheaper and terrible.
Piranha was a Jaws ripoff. A lot of these are Jaws ripoffs.
I mean, there are...
Yeah.
Jaws, I kind of feel like there are more ripoffs of Jaws, than any other movie. Yeah. Maybe Star Wars. I don't know, though.
I think there are more Jaws ripoffs than Star Wars.
Well, I mean, look at just up to the present day. Look how many movies there are with sharks in them. Yeah. That, obviously they're not all Jaws ripoffs, but I don't know. In a way, they kind of are.
I think they kind of are.
So I kind of feel like even though this one was obviously made in response to Jaws, it's doing its own thing, and I kind of respect that it does that.
The reason why there were so many Jaws ripoffs is Jaws made all the fucking money.
It was the first blockbuster.
Yeah, really. It made all the fucking money. And it was kind of like the first Spielberg movie that people really noticed. And it was like, wow, it does have a fucking very naturalistic, super American vibe to it, but in a good way. And that really ingrained itself into the American psyche, that movie. Well, it's a lot easier to rip off Jaws on a small budget than it is to rip off Star Wars on a low budget.
Yeah, that's true.
A low budget Star Wars ripoff is fucking, it looks like shit. A low budget Jaws ripoff, not all that far from the original Jaws. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could just buy some stock shark footage.
Yeah.
Shark footage. What did I say? I don't know what I said. Stock footage of sharks. That's what I meant.
Most of the Jaws ripoffs were Italian. The main problem with them is the dubbing and fucking crazy dialect and crazy dialogue, fucked up editing, and just. But they gave you what you wanted: sharks blowing up, people getting eaten by sharks. They show you that in a bunch of different ways. And that's why you were going to see that movie anyway.
Actually, I just watched The Last Shark the other day, the Riff Tracks version, and that has an amazing scene in it where the shark basically bumps. There's a dude standing up in a boat, and the shark like bumps it from underneath, and the boat goes flying, and the dude goes flying up. It's amazing. And honestly, that's like. I think I was watching the Riff Track, so I think Kevin Murphy at one point, he's like, man, if the movie was just 90 minutes of that scene playing over and over again, I'm totally on board with that. It was so funny.
For me, the best Jaws ripoff is not Orca. The best Jaws ripoff is Piranha.
Yeah.
Because it takes it in another direction. We're gonna go with a lake fish that is flesh eating in a big fucking school of them. And they're genetically engineered out of a fucking weird genetically engineered fucking place out in the damn mountains. I think it was out in California, wasn't it? And they leave something hanging. They get to the laboratory and a two-legged fucking piranha runs across the... Remember that? A two-legged piranha runs across the fucking shelf in the damn laboratory because where they were doing all the genetic engineering.
Yeah.
And they never resolved that. They just see it.
Yeah,
what happened to that thing?
Yeah, I think we were talking about that on the piranha.
They could have made that thing. Was it a piranha or was it a frog?
I don't remember.
It was. I think it might have been a two-legged piranha, and they leave you hanging. They never fucking find it again. They never show it again.
Well, they made sequels to that. I haven't seen them, so I don't know.
But that one is, if you want to see a good Jaws ripoff, see Piranha. That one's a lot. That was.
But like I said, Orca is not. I wouldn't necessarily call it a Jaws ripoff,
No,
even though it was made in response to Jaws.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
like
not
Jaws.
really the same. No. It's not really like that at all.
It's like an un-Jaws, a reverse of Jaws in a way.
Yeah, I mean, because what you have Richard Harris playing the sea captain, and I like that they establish, because like I said, Dino de Laurentiis. Yeah. I like that they established one of the first things that they do is that there's 2 divers, one of whom is Charlotte Rampling. So again, she was in Zardoz. So we accidentally saw 2 movies with her in it without even meaning to, which is crazy because I forgot that she was in this one. So she's one of the divers. They're down, and then there's like a great white shark comes. And she gets off the boat, but then like her friend, or the other diver, like falls into the water, and the shark's gonna eat him. But then the orcas come and like whack the shark out of the water, so they save the guy. So right there, like early on in the film, they're already sort of like, look, orcas can kick a great white shark's ass. So it's scarier than Jaws. And then they go into this big long thing about how intelligent orcas are and how they have a capacity for vengeance. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I don't even know how you would test that. But they are very intelligent, so it's not that crazy. So then Richard Harris decides, because he was gonna catch a shark, but then the whales hit it, so he's like, oh, well, if these whales are so awesome, maybe I'll get a whale, and that'll even cost me more money. And then Charlotte Rampling is like, fuck you, dude. It's like, you're just gonna, they're really intelligent, and they'll probably outsmart you because you're a dumbass, and which actually kind of does end up happening. So she tells him not to, but of course he does it anyway, and there's like a whole pod of orcas, and he shoots at one of them, and meaning to get the male, I guess, but it just like clips the male's fin, like dorsal fin, which is nice because then it's the same whale like later on because he's got a little notch out of it. But then it hits the pregnant female, but he doesn't know that. He brings the female onto the boat in a really horrible scene, honestly. And that was the scene that I think everybody remembers if they've seen this movie. Because it looks, I mean, obviously it's fake. They didn't kill a real whale for this. But it's this whale just hanging from the boat and bloody, and then this fucking whale fetus, like, pops out. Yeah. And, like, falls up, and then they hose it off the fucking thing. Yeah. And then they have, like, the male whale coming up there and being like, I see you, bitch. Yeah. So basically from then on, the orca is going on a campaign of terror and like I said, this is what I was getting at when I was going to say, Jaws for the revenge, easy solved problem, just go to the Midwest where there's no sharks and you're fine. This one, the whale is smart enough to essentially fuck up the whole village to get Richard Harris to come out there and like fight him like mano a mano because he wants to, he's like, bring it, bro. And so, but he won't do that at first because he doesn't believe that the whale is smart enough. But the whale does all kind of crazy shit in this. Like the whale pretty much blows up the oil refinery in the town by kind of like looking and being like, hey, if I hit that little pipe right there that has gasoline in it, and then I hit this and shit like that. So this is a really, really intelligent whale is what I'm saying. Yeah. And ends up blowing up the whole, and like kills a whole bunch of people, including the dude from Revenge of the Nerds, Robert Carradine, who's in this for about 2 seconds before he gets eaten. Keenan Wynn is in this for about 2 seconds before he gets eaten. Also, what's-her-face is in this too, Bo Derek. It's weird because it's not a cameo because it's a small part, but she's in it. The whole fucking movie, I'm watching this going, man, that chick looks just like Bo Derek. And then at the end, it was like, oh, it is Bo Derek. That's probably why it looks exactly like her. But this was like before she got famous. This was before 10 and all that. So I thought that it was somebody that looked like her, but also this has Will Sampson in it, who, poor guy, he always ends up playing like the magical Native American character, which he does in this as well.
That was his job.
Yeah. He's the one that's just kind of like, you fucking white man, and like blah blah blah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like he knows all about the whales.
His job was always to educate the white man on the spirit world.
Yeah. And that's essentially...
He was good at that, though. He was in a couple of those damn Clint Eastwood movies. Yeah. Remember that? Iron... The white man's word, some of the man's were made of iron, not on paper. What was that fucking... Was that Outlaw... I think it was Outlaw Josie Wales. He shows up in it. He does a great job. He fucking knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that part, do you?
No, that was I haven't seen that.
I think it was Josie Wales. That's when he made an agreement with Josie Wales on behalf of his damn tribe and shit. He was like the chieftain or main head warrior or something. And I don't remember exactly what he did. Made some kind of agreement. I forgot how it played out. It was pretty good. He did a good job. He's a good actor. It's just that he's typecast.
He's typecast.
He's going to be the Indian guy.
Yeah, like I said, you're going to be the magic Native American.
Right, basically.
Because that's kind of like that's really the only roles for Native Americans up until probably the 90s or later.
Well, his face, man. I mean, he looked like the Indian chief off of every U.S. Army patch. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That's exactly what they look like. Like he should have been on a damn 2nd Infantry Division patch, you know? So, yeah, that's what he's going to be.
Not like the guy that was crying over the litter in the commercial, who's actually not even really Native American. Iron Eyes Cody. Now, that dude was Sicilian, wasn't he?
Probably.
I think he was Sicilian.
Now, I think that actor, though, also played a couple sheriffs. I think he played cops, too.
Yeah, he might.
Like in the Old West, or not Old West, but in the Southwest. In the 70s, he'd show up, you know. Because, that fit that motif, too. Because that's the way the police kind of looked in New Mexico and stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically this whale is, holding Richard Harris's character for ransom pretty much, because this whole town is like turned against him because it's like, hey, we told you not to go out hunting killer whales because shit like this will happen. Well, actually, I think they say like townsfolk are really superstitious about it, and I suppose rightfully so. So pretty much all the townspeople are kind of like, well, you have to go out there and face this whale, in a one-on-one fight. Otherwise, the whale is just going to fuck up their entire town, which he actually kind of does. Like I said, he blows up an oil refinery. Like he knocks over Richard Harris's house or the house that he's staying in. He does all that kind of shit until Richard Harris like deigns to go out there in the boat and fight him. Now, I will say that this movie is actually much better than I remembered and a lot different than I remembered. But there is some stuff in it that makes me think that maybe, I don't know, because the character motivations are kind of flip-flop around a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like Charlotte Rampling's character, one, I don't buy that she would fall in love with Richard Harris's character. It's just there's no chemistry between them at all. Yeah. So that seemed a little shoehorned in and weird. So, I will say that. But she's basically tells him from the jump, hey, don't kill any killer whales. But of course he does anyway because he's a dipshit. And then she's like, now he's going to take vengeance on you. And she says all this stuff like building up the whales as really intelligent. But then after the whale starts wreaking havoc in the place, then she kind of like changes her tune a little bit, and she's like, oh, well, we don't actually know what the whale wants. Don't give the whale what he wants, even though she told him you need to go out and fight the whale earlier. You know what I mean? Yeah. So people keep like reversing their decisions. And also toward the end where the whale is basically leading Richard Harris and the crew up into, Arctic waters or whatever, in the ice. Because I guess they're implying that, we'll be more evenly matched because he won't be able to just pop up anywhere and I don't know. But so they go up there and Richard Harris decides after a couple of their crew members die, like get eaten, then he's like, oh, well, I'm going to throw away my gun and fight the whale on even terms. I'm like, what would that look like? A man fighting a whale on even terms? What, are you going to go wrestle it?
Yeah, no.
But then, like, 2 seconds later, he picks the gun up again, so I don't know what that was all about.
Actually, I was maybe about 35, 40 minutes into this movie, and I started kind of emotionally checking out of it. I was watching it, but kind of being bored. I thought, I had analyzed what kind of movie it was and how it was going to feel. I kind of could see what it was going to do. And it was just kind of stale and traditional. It wasn't a lot of fun, I didn't think.
It's more a tragedy, really, than a action movie.
And it is a well-made movie for its time. Some people might like it, but for me, I kind of felt it was a little too serious, and not very plausible. And it did shit just like she's talking about. He's going to fight it one-on-one, but he's going to have that damn rifle. One-on-one is you down in the water with it, man.
Yeah,
you know?
let's have a slap fight.
Yeah.
With the whale. Pow, pow.
Yeah. Mano y mano. That orca would swallow you in a single fucking bite.
That's what I mean. It wouldn't even just bite you in half.
If they can kill a fucking huge walrus or a huge fucking seal and throw a fucking seal, they could take a 150-pound seal and throw it like 30 feet in the fucking air. And when it hits the ground, fucking stun it. When it hits the water, stun it so bad, they can just go over there and get it. A man wouldn't have a chance. Not even a fucking chance against an orca.
No.
Mano y mano. So that was kind of a bold fucking statement.
Yeah, was he just like saying that? It's like, oh, I'm not going to use the gun. Then for like 2 seconds later, he's like, oh, well, wait, maybe I should.
Yeah. And that,
otherwise, I'm going to get my tiny little ass kicked.
Yeah, and it was like a bolt action 30-06. You know, and that I don't think that would be an effective weapon against the fucking orca to begin with. Maybe 50 cal, bolt action 50 cal. No, fuck no, 308. Nah.
And honestly, through the whole thing, I kind of felt like halfway through the movie, Richard Harris is basically strutting through the first half of the movie, just being a total douche. Like, yeah, I killed the whale. Yeah, oh, it was just an accident. I didn't know it was a female. Oh, well, fuck it. I don't believe they're that intelligent. And he just laughs it off. But then, like, as the whale starts fucking shit up, and looks like it actually knows what it's doing and it's targeting him specifically, then he's finally like, I kind of feel like they try to make the audience feel bad for him by saying, oh, well, I guess I understand where the whale is coming from because a long time ago, like, my pregnant wife was driving to the hospital by herself to give birth. I'm like, and where were you to drive your pregnant and in labor wife to the hospital? Maybe you should have been driving her, but anyway, maybe he was drunk somewhere. But she got hit by a drunk driver and killed her and the fetus. So he's like, so I understand that that's where the whale is coming from. So we're like the same. But at that point, I was like, look, you're already a dick. You didn't feel bad about killing the whale when after multiple people told you not to do it to begin with. So I'm just like rooting for the whale to eat you. Like, so the whole thing, I was team whale, which I guess you're kind of supposed to be. So the characters aren't super likable. So you don't really feel bad when they all get eaten. Yeah.
Jinx says that an orca has never killed a human being in the wild. They seem to like humans. They killed them in that captivity, but there may have been accidents or just pissed off bad day,
Well, I really kind of feel like somebody mentioned the documentary Blackfish, which is kind of about killer whales in captivity, which I still need to see because I've heard it was excellent. And honestly, I kind of feel like those animals are maybe not the kind of animals you want to have in captivity necessarily, and doing tricks and stuff for people.
They're huge, and they were meant to be out in the open ocean, and they're communicating each other with sonar and stuff. And you putting them even in a large tank would be like putting a human being in a box or a cell. That can't be good
it just seems really not
They're meant to be traveling and constantly moving.
But from everything I've heard of people interacting with them in the wild, they do actually seem to like humans, and they do seem like curious about them.
Which is awful weird because, all through the Victorian era, they were having steamships and ships fucking capturing whales and fucking butchering them at sea. And sometimes they take them back to the docks, they whale processing and stuff. And the whales never really seem to retaliate. It makes you wonder, maybe they're not that intelligent or they have no way of retaliating.
Yeah.
Remember, maybe they didn't quite understand what was happening. And some of those photographs from the 1800s, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of whale carcasses.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
And you're just like, you cannot believe that they were doing that many of them at once. They were using whale oil to light houses.
Yeah, so it was a massive industry.
So they were just massacring them damn ocean life, They had no concept of, we might run out. They didn't really have that. That wasn't in their. That wasn't in their.
God says He'll provide. I don't know what it was.
I think it's because they just thought that things were endless and endless production. It's okay. There's lots of them. Look at how many we have here. There's even more out in the ocean. Look how big the ocean is. We're not even scratching the surface. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
But they don't know anything about life cycles or how old these animals are.
Yeah.
Well, what's a fish? And I think that's what they were thinking. They get big. This is probably only 2 years old. And like, no, man, that's probably like a fucking 30 or 40-year-old whale. So, they were running out of them.
They live, I looked on the Wikipedia page, I think killer whales can live about 90 to 100 years.
Yeah, it's a human-like lifespan.
Because what I read, and I didn't know this either, but that all those pods and stuff like that you see are matrilineal. It's usually like a mom and all of her babies and all the extended ones, and then they form like all these little interconnected pods.
Yeah.
And they all have their own, like each community of them has their own dialects.
Yeah.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
They all have their own little languages.
Yeah, although this program kind of gets into it. If that is language, I think some of it's vision and processing. They're using sonar. They're using sonar to penetrate in through creatures and look and see inside.
Oh yeah, they are.
They're doing so. Yeah. It's not all language. Some of it might be signaling, but they bring up a good thing. They're like, well, human language is for our specific needs. That's how it emerged. When you have a creature like this who can actually send out sonar signals across thousands of miles, or use sonar to penetrate into a fellow orca, you can see that it's got cancer in it and all kinds of stuff. They don't need, they don't require words like "how are you feeling" or like "you're sick" or what I mean. It's because their awareness is probably very different than ours. So they don't need to talk about things that we actually need to talk about. So it makes you wonder. I don't think all of it's language. I think it's just emotions. Emotions, and they're seeing and they're responding, and then they're sending out signals and maybe giving information about where they are or how they feel. It's difficult. Because if it was actual language, I think we would have cracked it by now. Because we have all these computers.
Possibly. I mean, like I said, their lives are so different to ours that it's really hard to kind of extrapolate what they might be talking about.
Whatever it is, it's artistic. It's not mechanic. It's not based on vocabulary or words. It's something having to do with emotions and art. And they might actually use a sonar beam that has a bunch of information in it, that it hits the other creature and they detect it, and maybe an image forms in their mind, a vision of what that creature's talking about.
Wouldn't that be neat if they did that? It might be something like that.
Yeah, well, like a television signal.
Yeah.
But it's based on sound.
And I mean,
so
I
always suspect it's something like that.
I always thought it was cool too that they've actually, like, scientists that have monitored different different communities of whales like across the globe, they have their own like dialects, like they can tell like where that particular whale came from, like what part of the world, because they kind of essentially like speak different languages. They have like different sounds for what appears to be the same thing. Yeah. Louis says, I'm pretty sure the male orcas never leave their mothers. Yeah, they do. The males usually, every now and then you get one that kind of goes off on his own, like a MGTOW, but a whale. Whales going their own way. But yeah, most of the male orcas do stay in their mother's pod. Yeah,
they might have accents, but how much you gonna bet that those tones are just carrier waves for something like data or imagery? I have a feeling that they're sending each other pictures. They're relaying pictures of things that they're thinking about, or things that they're seeing, or relaying pictures about the reality. Like texting. Imagine texting somebody in a sonic analog way a photo of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
It's shit like that probably. Or things that you want to see. Or the situation, like news reports. You're giving out your status. I've been out here by myself a long time. Saw some fish. Shit like that.
Where are you guys?
Some of them.
Ate some of them.
Could use a female. It's going to be stuff like that.
Where all the lady orcas at?
Yeah. I'm way over here. And then they get an image of where that orca is where that whale is in kind of like in the ocean. You know what I mean? Kind of like coordinates.
Because, I mean, those sounds travel a very, very long way.
Right.
I think in this movie, she says that they can travel all around the globe. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, but they can travel thousands of miles, though.
That's just me thinking this, because the only kind of sonic way of transmitting information without words, vocabulary, and sentence structure would be data. So it must be imagery and data about emotion and where your locations is. That's what I'm thinking. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's probably what it is. I mean, because you have to, like, you have to put yourself in the shoes or in the fins of an orca, and what would their life be like? Yeah. What kind of communications would they have to send to other ones? Yeah. Because obviously they do it. Yeah. So.
And they have the sensory apparatus to get an image from a reflected sonic wave to get an image in their mind. They can see and through things too, like X-ray vision. So that means you can beam that same fucking sonic wave to another orca and get an image. That's got to be what it is. The reason why you can't crack it is because it's a picture. That's what was said, probably a picture or a representation of a feeling. And how are you going to decode that? Not with the only thing that could do it would be an orca's brain with its sensory apparatus. So you wouldn't be able to. Now, if you could tap into its mind, like they did to those cats, maybe you'd see that the orca's receiving images. But which
I kind of hope that they'll be able to do that someday, because I'm actually kind of curious as to what they're doing out there.
They're showing each other what they're seeing with their eyes, and they're seeing it in their imagination, what they're imagining too. So that would be a fucking badass creature. A lot of stuff could be going down. We wouldn't even know anything about it.
Well, yeah, they could be saying all kind of crazy shit out there. We wouldn't know what they were saying.
Yeah. So when you're talking about that level of development of the mind, you're talking about personhood. Yeah. Me.
Well, like I said, from what they can determine, they're along the same lines as higher primates. Yeah. So.
Which are people, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much.
A lot of gorillas and chimpanzees do things that people do, and they have people, they're a person-like being. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so. Yeah, and the more that people learn about it, I'm kind of glad that, now a lot more people are pissed off about, places like SeaWorld and stuff like that. It's like, maybe we shouldn't be having these animals like performing and like doing all and keeping them in these small little.
If you keep them in there, you should let them go. If they come back, you're doing something right. If they're not coming back, then fucking.
then they're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
With their little fins.
So. Because you could always have a good relate. Because here's the deal. People say, well, do the same thing with horses. I've raised horses and worked with them off and on for my whole fucking life. You let a horse out of its stall, it'll run around until feeding time. It'll come right back to the stall. Because that's where that horse lives. Yeah. And that's where all its friends live. They're not wild animals. So you're keeping them in captivity, kind of like in the same way you keep your children in captivity by giving them a place to live. Yeah. It's like that. Yeah. So it's not captivity the way you think. All right. If you let a horse go, it'll run around, it'll act crazy. And then feeding time, which is sundown, they come right back. Hey, where's my bucket?
Where's my bucket? Where's my blankie?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Where's my bucket? I'm gonna come, and they'll go right back into their stall. and you shut the door, and then all of a sudden they're relaxed because nothing can get to them. You know what I mean? They don't have to worry about, because they're a prey animal and they're afraid of predators. So that's why you shouldn't be capped. No predator animals should be eaten predators shouldn't be eaten. I don't believe in it. They're a higher animal. You can eat prey animals like deer and stuff. You can keep a predator as a pet, like big cats and shit, but you shouldn't be trying to wipe them out. And then you're dealing with things like gorillas and higher primates and orca and shit. They should be left in the wild. The problem with a lot of this stuff, though, is that there is no wild to leave them in anymore. So that's something that people are going to have to... They're going to have to make reserves.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, I will make an exception if the animal's going to go extinct otherwise. Yeah, then you and then you have, like, a breeding program, and you have, like, actually the shit set up for them, like an environment set up for them. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. But...
You can also repopulate the Earth. As the Earth's human population declines, which it will, conditions for endless growth don't exist anymore. Not here. We're the result of a baby boom from the Industrial Revolution. We're no longer necessary. The oligarchs will wipe us out over time. Or it'll happen naturally over time, too. Our numbers will decline because they're just not needed. Once that happens, all those animals you have in storage, or even if you have their just DNA on file, you can reintroduce them back into the world, which that would be the right thing to do. Especially if we're living on another planet or have colonies on other planets at that time.
Jinx says, talking about the 52 hertz whale. I think we talked about that on our audio anomalies
I know about that whale.
Show.
That whale's deaf.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the main. That's the most prevalent theory about it.
That fucking whale must be living in a hell. If it's deaf, then that means it's basically blind and on its own.
Yeah, that's got to
be pretty bad.
That's rough.
It can see with its eyes, but it can't see with sonar, and it's not hearing any other messages.
So yeah.
So for all he knows,
it's a handicap.
So all he knows, he's the only whale out there. And a whale like that would probably be rejected by the other whales, which is bad for that whale, but it's a good thing for the whale population because they don't want deaf genes to be bred back into the whale population. So animals have a way of saying, nope, you're a reject. Sad but true.
Danny Rolling Ghostface says, was Charlotte Rampling's character rescued at the end, or was she just stuck on that berg? They showed a helicopter coming at the end, because remember they had called for, because they run out of fuel, the boat ran out of fuel, and they called for, because he said, oh, there's a rescue station not that far away. So there was a helicopter at the end. Louis says, there's videos of orcas hunting sea lions. The way they work together to get them off the ice is fascinating. And dolphins and orcas are one of the few mammals that can recognize themselves in mirrors. Yep, that's true. Mm. That reminded me, actually, because remember how we've said about how Pookie looks in the mirror and kind of talks as though, I don't know if she's talking to herself or if she thinks it's another cat. Today, what she did, I have a piece of art over there that's it's from Lucid Absinthe, and it has like a black cat on it, like an old Art Nouveau kind of look. And today, I looked behind me, and she was sitting up on the dresser staring up at that cat on that picture, talking to the cat in the picture. She was going bark, 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 like to the cat. And she's kind of like she's been trying to like pull it off the wall too. Yeah. So I wonder, and she doesn't do that to any of the other frame shit in here. Yeah. So I wonder if she thinks that that's an actual cat, like behind a window. And she's like trying to rescue it.
Yeah. Cam Guy says horses need mental stimulation. They shouldn't be doing the same thing day after day. Yeah, that's true. But they also like basically all animals, domesticated animals, and horses are domestic. They've been domesticated for thousands of years. They like routine. Yeah. If the routine is Pookie asks for routines. Yeah. Where's this? Do this one.
Yeah, it's this time of day. It's time to do this.
Yeah, and the routines are there. That's how they have a feeling of progress and moving forward, because they don't have clocks, so things have to happen.
And they kind of get stressed out, like when you disrupt the routine.
When the routine's disrupted,
like when we moved. Yeah. The cats acted kind of weird for a little while until they figured out what was going on and a new routine was established, and they found out that everything was okay.
Pretty much all mammals will choose security over insecurity, or they will choose certainty over uncertainty. So that's what the routine is. They want the certainty. They like it.
Well, and like I said, you can understand that. Nobody, even humans, want to live their whole entire life not knowing
what's going to happen.
What's going to happen? Is something bad going to happen? Where's my next meal coming from? Where's this and the other? That's very stressful. So it's really stressful for animals.
And horses in a barn situation, and these are all equestrians, and thoroughbred horses. They like being ridden, and they like exercise and shit. They're bred for that. They also get sent out to pasture. You put them in different pens. Some of them like to be together with other ones. Other ones don't like each other. You kind of want to keep them separated. They all are having a herd mentality experience. They're socializing. And humans are they see humans as another horse. Like an alpha horse, then you have your job and you better do it. They want you to do your job. If they see you not doing the job, they'll punish you. Like, you did not replace the water. It's that much. It's shit like that. The water's dirty from last night. You forgot to replace it. Yeah. And they'll act an ass. You got that water. I had dirty water last night. God damn it. So they want fresh water.
Well, Pookie does that as well.
Yeah. They usually have a little waterer that they press, and fresh water will go in it. But some of them don't like it, or something will get into fresh water. Some hay will fall in it, or they'll accidentally shit in the fresh water, and they don't want to stick their fucking nose in there to press the button to get fresh water, because some of them think they have to drink the fresh water. They don't realize that you can just push it and let it overflow. A human will understand that. You can flush it out. Half the horses that haven't figured that out. that you can just put your nose in there and it'll flush out over time, and then you can drink it. Some of them want the clean water to be in there always. They can't really swallow, so they backwash a lot. You know, that's the way. So you'll see if the water's green, there's nothing in it, just fucking backwash. They don't want to taste it.
Well, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to drink their own spit water. That's gross.
Right. But other horses understand that if you just fucking put your nose in there and hold it down, it'll fucking flow out.
Well, just like humans, some are smarter than others.
Yeah.
And we'll figure shit out.
Let's figure it out. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, if you go to the Wikipedia page of about orcas, there's some stories in there that people have told that, you know, that go out and study whales, and like some shit that whales do.
Yeah.
The shit that they can figure out, they're actually like really smart. They said actually one time, this is story that I saw in there, where there was like some people and they were kind of having a snowball fight, and they said then the whales were kind of like watching them, and then the whales were kind of like picking up or smacking little bits of ice, like ice at each other, like they were also having a snowball fight. So I'm like, oh, that looks like fun. But no, what I was gonna say was like this morning, Pookie's little water fountain. She's got a little water fountain out there in the hall outside my office, and it was making a lot of noise this morning. It makes a lot of noise if there's not enough water in it, but I guess it also makes a lot of noise if it needs a new filter, which I'm assuming. So it was making a lot of noise. So Pookie runs in the bedroom and like jumps on Daddy, like, "Hey, my water fountain. There's something the matter with it. You really need to like come and like see to the situation." So we put a new filter in it, and she watched, and then she's like, "Okay."
Jinx is talking about her working as a janitor at medieval times and seeing the horses and stuff, and people telling her that the horses have to smell you to get comfortable. When you approach a horse, you always want to approach at the shoulder and stand at the shoulder. That's usually how you'll see horses standing like that. You don't want to approach them head on. They don't have an eye in the front of their heads. They don't like things coming straight at them. They like to...
Well, that's their blind spot.
It's like a blind spot, so you want to be up at the shoulder. And if you don't really know the horse, you just might want to stand there for a few minutes, you know, touch the horse, let him get to know you, and then reach over and grab the horse by the muzzle and pull it towards you, walk over, and put your mouth right near the nostril and just start trading breath. When you breathe out and he breathes in, you just sit there and just trade breath. And if they start relaxing, then you'll basically own that horse from there on out, you know, as long as you don't break that trust. Sometimes they'll pull away, like, I don't really like you, I'm not ready. You just say, okay, go back to stand at the shoulder again, let them relax, see if you can do it. And eventually they'll go, it's kind of like a horse handshake. Eventually they're, okay, you're all right. But just trading breath for about 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, they'll start to relax. And they'll never forget you after that. Because they do that.
Yeah.
They'll just have their fucking muzzles next to each other. That's like a real friendship stuff. You know, between horses, they'll do that.
Yeah, let's breathe on each other.
Just breathe. Let's smell each other's breath. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. So what did we watch Orca on? It was Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah.
And I think you can't get it for free. Not legally, anyway. So I think it was $3.99 to rent it. Weirdly, all of these 70s disaster movies and nature run amok movies, most of them it seems like you have to pay for. You can't really get any of them on.
She says, "I'm a male. We can't see you, man."
Well, I guess because I think it's just because of the avatar.
Yeah, the avatar looks like a female.
Kind of. Well, I mean, from far away.
From far away, it's a little tiny thing.
So I can't really tell what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's not a great movie, but I don't think it's seriously on Rotten Tomatoes. It has 9%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not that bad. Jesus Christ.
It's not that bad. No.
You know, like I said, if we're talking about Jaws ripoffs, there's way worse ones than this one. This is probably like the best of the Jaws ripoffs.
Yeah. How long have we been streaming?
Almost an hour.
Okay, I got that meat cooking on the grill. I'm gonna have to get off here in a bit.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we got.
Actually, you can end it here. I just gotta go down there and get it off the grill.
Yeah, because we're done talking about the movie.
I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, we'll see you again tomorrow. But yeah, we're gonna. I don't know what movie we're gonna watch tonight. Like I said, we were gonna watch Exorcist 2, but we couldn't find that for free. And Tom's like, I don't know if I want to pay to watch it. Like if it's as bad as you say. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But we'll think of a movie tonight to watch for tomorrow. And so we'll see you guys again tomorrow afternoon. Thanks everybody for dropping by. Thanks for super chats. And we'll see y'all tomorrow.